All right, guys, are you guys all ready for tonight? I don't hear any energy for a workshop. Where's that yes? Let's get it started, guys. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Build with AI. Build your own AI-powered learning assistant with Gemini, hosted by GDG Sydney and GDG On-Campus AI Edge. I am Ria Maharjan, your host for the evening, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to Google Sydney. Also, give yourself a round of applause, a big one, because it's been pouring and you guys have made it according with that Piedmont traffic and all of that. So I'm absolutely happy you guys here. Give yourself, yeah. Let's go next. If you are curious about AI Edge, you can scan the QR code for their socials to learn more about the institutions. I'll give you guys some time on that. Beautiful. All right, before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land in which we meet and greet and pay our respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. A massive thank you to Google Sydney for hosting us in this incredible space and to all of you for joining with us tonight. Let's take a look at what we've planned tonight. We have the introduction to Build with AI with Anupam Phoghat. And then at 6:30, we have a mini break with food and drinks, and you can network on. And then at 7 p.m., we'll come back in, and then we will be starting our workshop. All good. So this workshop is all about creating customized educational content using Gemini. You will be learning to generate materials for different learning styles, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Use prompt engineering to fine-tune results. Deploy your solution using Google Cloud's Vertex AI. And it's okay if you're new to some of this. We are all learning together. Next, we will get you with your GCP credits. If you can scan that QR code to get your GCP credits for tonight. I'll get you guys some time on that. And before we dive in as well, Wi-Fi, you're at Google, so the Wi-Fi should be pretty strong. It is Alphabet Guest, and it's a free Wi-Fi, so if you want to connect it right now and get your laptops all ready. So tonight is gonna be a hands-on workshop. So laptops out, sleeves up, and if we get stuff, we got volunteers all around, so please raise your hands and we'll come to help you out. All right, are you guys done with the GCP credits? Perfect, I'll give you guys one more time. I've got a few more there. Beautiful. All right, now it's time to hear from our special guest, someone who's been at the forefront of building with Google Cloud and AI. Anupam Phoghat is a Google developer expert and the founder of CoreX, and a passion educator with a knack for storytelling and simplifying complex tech. He's helped with thousands of developers through his online course, and tonight he's here to guide us through what it means to build real-world AI-powered solutions. Please join me in welcoming Anupam Phoghat to stage.
Hey everyone, how are you all doing? It's a massive crowd. I was actually in Perth last week presenting the same content, doing the same workshop, and I thought, it's a massive crowd. There was almost close to 70, 80 people on a Friday night spending their time with me learning about building an application that can help them create a personalized content. But this is quite big. So thanks for coming over here, and I'll try and make sure that we justify the time that you are spending here tonight, right? And we get something out of the time that you are actually spending here. So can we swap the screens, please? I'll not talk about me. We have done enough. So what are we going to do tonight? About 10 years back, I come from an infrastructure virtualization background, storage virtualization, modernization background. And I had been hearing this buzzword about data science, data engineering a lot. So I called a recruiter. I was looking for all the jobs that had a mention of data scientist. Probably, I had no idea what data scientist meant at that time. So I was speaking with one of the recruiter. I told him, I know Python, I can code in Python, and I want to apply for this job, no matter what level. So I'm not too concerned about the seniority for this particular role. He asked me a simple question: do you know what data engineering is? I said, yeah, I think so. So have you done any ETL, ELT kind of stuff? And to be honest, I was blank because I hadn't. So that was a reflection on me that we hear these buzzwords, right? And then we think, oh, I want to be a data scientist. I want to be modernization architect and all those sort of things without actually understanding the underlying concepts, the underlying algorithm, the underlying logic. So I took that time. I did a lot of courses. I even enrolled for MicroMasters program from MIT and RIET and whatnot. So I did a lot of things. And then I realized, oh, most of this stuff we have already read in our schooling and college, statistics and how the Netflix algorithm works when they present to you your favorite movies and how they label the things, how they use all that information, which they ask you for your favorite movies and all that stuff. 10 years fast forward, I am building a company that is actually generating or helping out businesses with the use of generative AI. We are doing AI development. If I look back, I probably still am not a very proficient AI developer. Or if you ask me, I'm definitely not a data scientist yet. But what I am, I probably can understand the business problem a lot better. And with the help of the technologies that are there in the market, things like Gemini and the different models that it presents, no matter what business use case you think of, no matter what problem you are trying to solve, you just need to break it down and then use the right technology. You can solve any problem right now with the technology, with the models, with the platforms that are available with. And that's exactly what we are trying to discuss. That's exactly what we will be looking at tonight, right? So how all you need is a bigger picture, the clear idea of the problem that you are trying to solve, and use the technology proficiently, efficiently to solve the business problem. So what are we going to discuss? On a very high level, although I know this whole thing looks like it's a workshop, right? So we did say build with AI. I'll put the workshop at the very bottom. Again, to make sure, first you understand, right? So what are we going to do? If we just try out some code, that's fine. I mean, we can build something. But I want to really emphasize on some of the key concepts that are highly critical when we discuss about prompt engineering. And it's, when it comes to especially Gen AI, it's all about prompts. And how you put the prompts is all about prompt engineering. It's basically prompt engineering. So there are two resources that I need you to have access to. So one is the slide deck, which is this slide deck that we'll be using for our presentation. The next one to the right is the workshop runbook that we'll use in the second half of this workshop. I'll give you some time to scan the QR codes. If you have any issues, let me know. I've shared. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I thought I did that. I'll share it with. I know why, what that has happened. because I made a copy of the slide deck from the one that I presented last week at the Perth event. It should be fine now. So the slide deck is what we are going to discuss in the first half, discussing about all the prompt engineering techniques. And the one on the right is the workshop run book that we'll be using when we do the hands-on workshop in the second half. Is everyone all good? I still see a few people scanning the QR codes. I'll keep it there for another few seconds. All right, moving on. So what is Gemini? I think pretty much everyone here know what Gemini is. We have been using ChatGPT since its inception, but not too far after that, Google introduced Gemini, which is a very powerful general purpose AI model. It is multi-modal. When I say multi-modal, that basically means it can take the inputs in form of the text, images, videos, or even your voice, and then it can generate the outputs and the results based on that. So some of the key features: highly advanced capabilities in understanding, reasoning, coding, and much more, which we'll see in some of our examples that we'll be using in this presentation here. So some of the use cases: powering Google products like search, assistance, workshop, and it is also available through chatbot. And we also have the API endpoint for Gemini that can be used or that can be called programmatically. When I say programmatically, when you write your applications or your codes, you can call Gemini and key in some of the inputs to that, and then it will return the results as an output that you can use as an output in your application or as an input to other functions within your application. So actually, let's make it a bit of fun. So before we discuss about prompt engineering, I need a volunteer, someone who is brave enough. You don't need to. Thank you. Give him a big round of applause. May I know your name, please?
My name is Treat.
Treat.
Yes.
Okay. So what are we going to do? We are just going to do a role play, right? So I'll ask you some questions, or I'll ask you to help me with something, and you are just going to respond based on the questions or based on what I ask you to do.
I understand.
You do not ask me questions unless I ask you to ask me questions, right? Okay. So Treat, I want to run a workshop. I want to run a workshop to show the capabilities of Gemini, titled Build with AI at GDG Sydney. Help me prepare that workshop.
Sorry, the answer is I don't know.
Sorry for putting you on the spot. So you can, based on the information, based on the knowledge that you have, based on what you know, just give me some response.
No response. So
Okay, so that's my response. Now, let me try and rephrase my question. So this is my question in another way. I run a consulting company where we help businesses generate business outcomes with the power of AI. I want to run a workshop with GDG Sydney, and I want to show them the capability of Gemini and how they can use the capability of Gemini to solve day-to-day use cases. Can you suggest me a few topics and provide me or help me build an agenda for the workshop?
About the topic, we have topic, we have first is the clear introduction about Gemini, and the next thing is the next thing about how to use how to apply it in your job. How can Gemini how can you use it in the conversation, like in the conversation for having the results that you want in your mind, and how to prompt clearly, and so that is what I want to say.
Thank you. Let me try getting the content generated for my workshop by a different technique. So I'm the founder of a consulting company where we help businesses solve day-to-day challenges with the help of AI. I want to use a real-world use case to show how the capabilities of Gemini can be used to solve their business problems. Provide me a step-by-step guide to run a workshop and ask me the relevant questions based on your knowledge. Ask me the relevant questions for the workshop. Or ask me questions to help me prepare the content for the workshop.
The first thing is that what is the attendees, what is the type of attendees, and what they want to know, and then you build up the content based on the things that the type of attendees, like are they interested in education, are they interested in finance, and from that you will build a workshop. Like teaching them how to making a prompt that fits with their type.
Thank you. Let me give it one more go. With the context from the conversations above, help me relevant questions to prepare for the workshop with one question at a time, please. You don't really have to answer that. Thank you very much for participating. No worries. I don't want to introduce another model here by asking for another volunteer. I think one model is fine. Thank you very much. So the whole idea of running this, why I was asking those questions, I just wanted to show you the difference, right? So if you see, in my first question, I just asked him, I want to run a workshop and help me prepare for the workshop without giving it much context. So based on the information that it had, based on its own knowledge, based on its own experience, it might give me some answer which is completely irrelevant to what I'm asking for, or it might just go blank, like our friend did. Again, why that happens? Because the model responds back to us based on the information that it has, based on the training, the data that it has been trained on. Then what I did, I provided it a bit more context, a bit more information. So I helped him, the model, to collect more information that is more relevant to my question or the workshop that I'm trying to run. In the third attempt, I asked the model to ask me relevant questions, to ask me the questions that are needed for it to decide what kind of content, what kind of workshop, what kind of data it should give me so that I can prepare for the presentation. But it asked me the hell lot of questions in one go. I remembered some, or I misinterpreted some, or I just probably changed the sequence. In the fourth and the final attempt, what I did, I kept all the information, the question, the context, everything same. But I asked the model to ask me questions one by one. How that matters? When you answer to one question, based on that, it formulates its response, and then it asks the relevant or the subsequent question. As opposed to asking 20 questions in one go, and you providing the answer to all those 20 questions in one go, it doesn't really understand which response fits or aligns to which question. And based on that, it pretty much does the assumption based on the training that it has gone through, and it provides you the response. So what is this? All the questioning or all the inputs that I had been doing. This is what's called as prompt engineering, right? So prompt is nothing but the input that's given to the LLM to generate a response. And in the context learning, the LLM's ability to learn from the examples provided in the prompt. Which takes us to the, let's try out an example, right? So you don't really have to try this out. But ask Gemini to generate a sample transcript from a customer's order at a fast food restaurant, right? This is a simple statement. You're not giving any examples, or you're not giving a lot of context. It's a simple example, a simple statement. If anyone wants to try it out, you can try it out. Otherwise, I've given you the access to the slide deck as well. You can just copy paste it. So this is a sample output that Gemini provided me. Now, in the next one, what I'm doing is run the following prompt that attempts to understand a customer's order from a conversation in JSON format. So people who are from development background or from engineering background, they would know what JSON is. But for others who don't know what JSON is, it is basically just a computer readable language or format which we use to code something in, and a human readable format. So it extracts the transcript, the whole transcript, and it puts it into a JSON format. Now I tried the same thing. However, I tweaked my prompt a little bit. So I did extract the order items into JSON, separate drinks from food, include a quantity of each item and a size if specified, and then see what the output is going to be. So rather than just putting the transcript out there, it is going to categorize the items in food and drink, and it will also give you just the quantity, not the whole conversation from the transcript. Now, let's try and add a persona to that conversation, similar to what we were doing there. So when you do, or when you try out this technique, what you do, you ask the model that you are the attendant at the restaurant. Now help the customer to understand your daily specials. What is the special meal that you have for the day? And see how it responds back to you. The kind of response it returns back. Are you guys trying out, or? Yeah. So do you see any difference? For the same thing. So now, rather than just asking them to give you something, you are asking the model to assume a role and feel as if they are the shop attendant, they are the restaurant attendant, and you are the customer. And you are asking them to provide you some recommendations or help the customer to understand your daily specials. Another technique that we use in prompt engineering is something known as zero shot, one shot, or few shots. Who here knows what a few shot or zero shot prompting means? Cool. So zero shot prompting is what I just did there in our conversation. So you just ask a question without any context, without any examples. You just ask them a question, you just give them an input, and you expect a response back. Now, as we saw in that role play, so without setting up the context, without giving them a lot of information, without actually letting them know that what exactly you are looking for, the response that you get from the model can be very vague, can be completely irrelevant, or sometimes it might just say, sorry, I couldn't find that information. One-shot prompting is when you ask a question, but at the same time, you also provide an example. So you ask the model to provide you with some information, and you also give them the example. So something like this. So I want this information, and here is the example. And few-shot prompting is when you provide more than one example, when you provide a set of examples, and where this thing comes really handy. Can anyone think of an example, a use case? A few-shot prompting, where would it really be useful? When we are providing a lot of examples to the prompt. Using Copilot to do programming, okay.
Testing. Any kind of test scenarios.
Test scenarios, yes, that's a good one. How about sentiment analysis? Think about a chatbot for a telco, be it Optus or Telstra. We have been hearing out quite a lot of outages in recent past from those telcos. If the customer calls to the voice bot, or if he chats to the chatbot, how do you think the bot would be able to analyze whether this customer is happy, he's talking good about our services, or he's really irritated, or he's really upset about the service? So if when you are designing a bot, when you are designing them to respond back to the customer when they are interacting with that bot, and you provide them with few examples. If customer X uses any of these words, like highly appreciated, or over the moon, or I'm really happy, means they are quite happy. And if the customer uses any of the beep words, then this is the sentiment. So you see how by providing few examples, by guiding, by giving them enough data so that they can train themselves that how to respond back to the user with the information that they already have. Now, how do you think the bot will really respond if they don't have the actual, the relevant data to train themselves on? How many of you heard about the funny incidents with Grok? So the model that Twitter released, it was in news for quite a few days when few people were trying to have fun with the model, and it was using the same kind of language that the end user was using. It was abusive. What was the reason? The reason was obviously one, the input from the user. Number two, the data that it had been trained on. So that particular model was trained on the data that was available on Twitter. And what is the data that's available on Twitter? Twitter has all the data that the users go in there and they just write their posts or tweets, right? And that was the main reason why it was actually using some of the slangs literally the way humans use, because it was trained on the very same language. And that's the criticality or importance of using the right training data set, as well as the examples that you give to the model when the user is interacting with that. So some of the benefits of prompt engineering, as we just discussed: better generalization with limited data. It increases the control over output format and style. As we saw in the previous example, if you want your output to be in a JSON file, right? And if you don't give it proper examples, if you just say that, give me this output in a JSON file, it is probably going to just take the transcript and put it in a JSON format. But if you instruct it clearly, I want these things only from the transcript in a JSON format, and here is the example. Which one of you think is going to be a better output? Obviously, the one where you provide more information, more context, with a set of example. There was a funny conversation that I had with some of the people last week in Perth. So they said, we try and create our resumes and cover letter, and we give it an example, and it just pretty much copies the data from that resume, and it prepares our resume. I'm like, okay, so how do you ask it to prepare your resume? We say, I want to write a cover letter for this job. Help me prepare a resume and a cover letter similar to this. Then obviously it is going to prepare a resume similar to that. What you are trying to do there, you are just asking model to prepare something for a job that you have given as an input, and give you the output similar to what you have provided as input in that document. Instead, try it out in other way. You say, this is the job. I'm applying for this particular job as a developer or in an architect capacity. Help me prepare a resume, and these are my skill sets. This is what I'm good at, and these are my goals for, say, next 2 years, 3 years. And take this resume as an example to create the format or to structure my resume, and see the difference. So this is, again, just an example how we will use something like few shot prompting in our applications or when we are developing something, right? So you are giving it a context and then some instructions. So do not include any markdown style, and then 1 means they are not likely, 2 means this, 3 means this. And then you are giving few examples so that it clearly understands your intention, the way you want your model to respond back to the customer or to the end user of your application. Does anyone here know what a chain of thoughts is, chain of thought in prompt engineering? So this basically means LLMs predict what language should follow another language, right? So cannot think through the cause and the effect in the world outside language. So you ask a question, it will just respond back to you in language, in whatever it understands from the language. So for tasks that require more reasoning, right? So for example, I use Gemini a lot. I use Gemini a lot because I prepare a lot of documents. And I learned this throughout my journey of using Gemini, that the kind of response or the efficiency of the output that you get from Gemini all depends on the kind of questions, how you are prompting Gemini. So the tasks that require more reasoning, guide the model through expressing immediate logical steps in language. So I asked Gemini prepare a business plan for me. I'm running an IT consulting company. And then it will prepare the response. It will give you the output based on what you are asking it to do. Because it is a LLM, large language model. It only understands language, but it doesn't understand what are your financials. How does it look like, right? It will just pick up an example from whatever is available, and then it will just do some calculations, or it will just give it to you without really understanding how big your team size is, what are your core strengths, what industry you are in, which country you are in, right? So you have to logically guide it through step by step. So that's the chain of thought, wherein you break down the task and you provide more logical reasoning. You break it down and you provide more logical reasoning. That I have a team of 3 people, 3 people each of them, or I have a team of, say, 3 engineers. One is senior, one is junior. Senior is this much salary, junior is this much salary. So you are providing it more logical steps rather than just providing it a simple text or the language formatted input, right? So that's basically the chain of thought. So the more logical, especially for these kind of problems where it needs to think outside the language world, what are the implications? If it just provides me, okay, according to your business plan, in next 2 years, you're going to make 10 millions without really understanding what is the rent of the office is going to be, or am I going to have the offshore resources or onshore resources, right? So again, an example here of chain of thoughts. So instructions, use the context and make any updates needed in the scenario to answer the question. So the context is, you see how I'm giving it the logical steps. A high efficiency factory produces these many units and so many things. Then I've also given the example scenarios. Then you go to the very last one where you ask it the real questions. And then, so how many units can they produce today, how many tomorrow? By giving it some logical steps. Then only it will be able to help you with the logical steps, doing that computation properly based on the examples and the logics that you have given to the model. Task decomposition. This is my favorite slide because it reminds me of the mind map, right? So we think of doing a very big thing one day, but then we really get overwhelmed. We don't really know where to start, how to start. This is exactly the same thing. You have a very complex task. We have a big task, but you really don't understand. You really don't know where to start or which step do I need to do first. And this is pretty much the same thing with the models as well, with the with Gemini as well. So what this approach says, to approach a complex problem, you might brainstorm possible starting points first, right? So again, for example, I'm thinking of starting a company. Okay, well done, good. Where to start? What to do? I don't know. So what we start doing is we start decomposing our task. So if you want to start a company, what are the kind of things that you will probably, based on your knowledge, based on your understanding, that you might need to do? Okay, I'll have to build a team. Oh, I'll need an office as well to have those, to have the team work somewhere from if you are not offering work from home. Then I'll also need an accountant, a person with a finance background to do all the salaries and all the taxation for me. Okay, then I'll also probably need someone who can handle the company finances for me. But how are we gonna generate the business? I might need a salesperson. Okay, but then I might need someone who can help me do the legals or how we register the company. So these are the things that will come to you as you start thinking about the small task or the relevant tasks that are needed to achieve that complex task. So this is exactly what you do. So you brainstorm possible starting points, then you multiple steps to work through, and then choose one option to develop further. If I take this particular example that we did the role play for, I want to run a Build with AI workshop. If I go ahead and ask Gemini, help me build the content for a Build with AI workshop, you try it out and see the kind of response it gives you. Instead, if you go and say, I want to run a Build with AI workshop, and I want to address the attendees from diverse background, from different professions, from the attendees might be university students, IT engineers, developers, or people from other professions who are not using development tools or who are not using the coding or who are not really coding the applications day in, day out. But at the same time, I also want them to understand the core concepts of the technology at a very high level. Give me some suggestions. Then see the difference, the kind of response it gives you. It might give you 8 or 10 different options. Then you say, okay, I really like the option number 8. Can you elaborate more on that particular option? It will give you more information on option 8. Then from the information that it has given, I want you to focus more on the business use cases while developing this particular workshop. So what you are doing here, you started with a complex thing, but you try to decompose it, right? So you took a starting point, you gave it some input, it came back with its responses, it gave you some outputs. You picked one response out of that, and then you started building on top of that with more information, more context. So when working with generative models, you can follow a similar process in which the model can build upon an initial response, right? So this is a highly technical thing, right? So you might probably don't understand. I mean, as a person who is not really into engineering. So to explain the difference between a TPU and a GPU, what are 5 different ideas for metaphors that compare the two, right? So that was my starting point. I just gave it an idea. Then it provided me a few options, and then we started building on that particular option or the response that it provided me based on the first prompt. Multimodal prompting. Gemini also supports multimodal. So multimodal basically means generating or providing you multiple responses or a response in multiple formats. So generate an image that I can use as an input to Gemini to showcase multimodal prompting. So it basically involves using various types of data as input to an LLM to guide its responses. So as I was saying, in multimodal, while you are using it in your applications, so what you'll do is you'll ask it to generate an output, and then that particular output you'll use as an input to the next function or the next step of your workflow. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you a rundown of what are we going to use in our workshop and why it is critical, because it all depends. As I was saying, it's not the technology, it's about the use of the technology, how you use it. So we'll continue. I'll take a break here. I'll hand it over to you.
That was very insightful and helpful for our session moving forward.
Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The GCP?
Here it is.
Okay, guys, we will be taking a short break. We will be back around 7:15. We've got pizzas and drinks outside, so eat up, recharge, and get back in for our workshop. It's gonna be fun. Okay, thanks, guys. And we've got the GCP credits QR code. If someone was late and haven't scanned the QR code, please do it now and get ready for the workshop. I think you can take it away from here. I'll just go outside, see if anyone's out there.
Sure thing.
And if you need anything, I'm just...
No worries. Thank you. How is everyone going with their credits? Working all right? Okay. Does everyone have access to the runbook? Cool. So what are we going to do? Rather than, just give me one sec. Rather than straight jumping into the hands-on workshop, so first we'll go step by step. We'll just go through all the steps, what we are doing, what this workshop is about. I'll try and break down the code that I've, can you stop, please? We'll break down the code a bit, and once everyone has a good understanding, has a good grasp on what the code is about, how it's working, then we'll try it out in the Vertex AI lab. All right, so I'm assuming everyone has access to the runbook, and the credits, I'll link to the, oh yeah, sure, okay. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, I'll walk you through. So we'll be creating our API key. But before that, we'll enable few APIs. So you have enabled APIs. So make sure, along with Vertex API, because when you enable it, it will ask you only for the Vertex API, Vertex AI API. But you also need to enable Generative AI API. Otherwise, it will throw an error at the later stage. So there are two APIs that you will have to enable. One is Vertex AI API that gets prompted as soon as you click on that Colab thing. And you also need to enable Generative AI API. So all you need to be able to run this lab is a Python environment. Now, you can run it in your local environment as well, on your local machine if you have Python installed. But in that case, you will need API key credential from Google Cloud. So I would recommend using the Colab notebook so that you don't really have to install or upload or update anything. We'll still create a API key. All right. Are we good with the APIs? Yes. It is written in the document as well, but I'll show you how to create the API key. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, I'll just quickly show you how you will create an API key credential. So when you click on those three hamburger sign there on the top left corner, you go to the APIs and the services, click on enable API or go to libraries directly. And Vertex AI API, I'm assuming, would have been enabled by default as soon as you clicked on the Vertex AI Colab editor. It would ask you to enable the Vertex AI API. However, as I was saying, it will not enable the Generative AI API for you. So you will have to do it manually. So just search here, generative AI, and then it should show you Gemini API, sorry. Oh, no, okay. It is generative API. I've already enabled it.
I wrote generative AI, but it says Gemini API and model on.
Yeah, Gemini API, sorry. Yeah, Gemini API. Done. So once you enable the API, we'll go to the APIs and services again. From there, we'll click on credentials. So when we click on credentials, at the top, we'll see create credentials. So click on create credentials, and we'll have 3 options. So we need to create a credential for the API key. So we'll create an API key credential, not the OAuth client ID or service account. Those are for different purposes. So we'll click on create API key credential, and it will present you with the API key. So make a note of this key. This will be needed for the lab. Don't copy this one. This is my API. So you need to create your own API key credentials. Everyone good with the API key credential? Yes? Does anyone have any issue with the API credentials, API key credentials?
We need both a Vertex and a Gemini API.
Yes, so you need both Gemini and Vertex AI API enabled, but when you create the credential, you just create the generic one and it will give you access to both. In the real world, you will not do that. You use the least privilege principle, so you enable the credentials only for that particular API just by going into that. But this is the general API credentials which will be applied to all the APIs. Okay, so yes.
When I'm creating credentials, do I have to create credentials for Vertex AI?
No, don't create it for the API. Just create the generic one, which will be applied to all the APIs. All right. Just in the interest of time, because we have only pretty much 35 minutes left, so I'll move on. Now, in the first step, we are setting up the environment. What that basically means, in the go back to your Colab notebook. Does everyone have Colab notebook open? Just copy this first line, which is import google.generative AI as Gen AI. Right? Once that's done, we already have the API credential created. We have the key with us. So in the next step, we will say Gen AI.configure bracket API underscore key equals to your API key. So the key that you copied from the console, paste it over there. And so there are 2 options. Either we can just go through the steps now and then you can run the code in one go. But if you want to run the codes now, try Shift Enter. So if you do Shift Enter, it will run the code and it will take you to the next cell. All good, everyone? Any issues with that so far? No? Okay, so in the next step, we are choosing a model. So I was just having a conversation outside, right? So there are different models, even within Gemini. So what that basically means, that within the generative AI models, one size doesn't fit all. So few models are really good for predictive analysis. Few models are good for doing a research. Few models are good for some reasoning. So based on your use case, based on what you want to achieve, based on what business problem you are trying to solve, choose your model accordingly, right? So in this particular case, we are using Gemini 2.0 Flash. So we'll just define it here. Model equals to Gemini Gen AI dot generative model, and then the model name within the brackets. Sorry? No, this is not prompt. Gemini Pro, yes, 2.0 Flash, yes. Yeah, 2.0 Flash. If you say Gemini Pro, it won't find it. Because what you see in the GUI console is different from the command line thing. All right, so this is probably going to be the last command that we are typing for the next 10, 15 minutes or so. We'll just go through the steps, the next few steps. Why I'm saying that? Because all these steps need to be run together. Otherwise, the code will break because there is a bit of interdependency between the functions. So otherwise, if you run this code now, defining a function and calling something that has not been defined or created yet, it's going to throw an error. So there is a bit of dependency. Now, in next step, which is step 5, what are we doing? So we are defining a function to generate the learning material. So we are defining a function, generate underscore learning material, and the inputs that it is going to take is topic, what topic you want to learn today, right? So in our particular example, we are going to use Node.js. You can try whatever you want. Learning style, what is your learning style? Are you more of a visual guy? Like I really love learning using storytelling or seeing the visuals. Even when I'm teaching a course or I'm giving a presentation, I really love using analogies. That's my learning style. And then the output type. So then we are defining the arguments here. So topic, the topic of the learning material, example, React.js. This is the argument that will be presented to the end user for them to key in an input when we run this code. What is your learning style? To help them with the input, we are just providing them the examples here. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to key in one of those 3 inputs. This is just an example. And then the output type, sorry. Once after this definition, at the end, there is a output that is being generated, and then it returns the generated output as a string. Again, I should have said it at the beginning. So with this workshop, I'm not going to tell you what to do, right? I'm just going to show you how to do. What can be anything? When I say anything, that what is the business case? In my case, it is the personalized learning assistant, right? So you can think of any other examples, whatever. I'm just going to show you how you can use generative AI in your application, how you can call generative AI and make use of the prompt engineering that we just discussed before this workshop to generate relevant, effective, efficient, and highly personalized or relevant outputs of the content. Is everyone good so far? In the next step, so based on the input that the user is giving me, I'm generating a prompt. It is a very, very simple prompt here. So this is where we use the user's input to create a specific instruction for Gemini Pro, right? So this is just a prompt. Again, as I said, I'm not telling you what to do. You can be as creative or as crazy as you want and try a few things out. I'm just showing you how you can use Gen AI, not Gen AI, Gemini to generate some content using the Gen AI. So after the prompt, in the next step, we are sending the request to Gemini Pro and return generated text. So what we are doing is response equals to model.generate content and then the prompt. Prompt is the whole string that was created in step 6. So we are now sending the request to Gemini with the help of the prompt that we have created in the previous step. And then we are returning the response back to the user as a text, as a string. Now, there were some really good conversations last week when I presented this thing in Perth. So someone asked me, if I say visual as my learning style, it is giving me the whole text around a story. It is building a story. It is giving me an analogy. But why is it not creating that image? Because we are not using the model here. We are not asking Gemini to create the image. If you see here, the response is as text. And this is where it can go a little bit interesting, but at the same time, more complex as well. So what you'll have to do in this case is split it into 2 responses. One as a text to generate or to write about the visual, and then use that as an input to the next step, which will use another model to generate the image based on the text that has been generated by the first step. Everyone with me? Cool. So, yes. Yeah, that's why I was saying don't try it out one by one. So we are just going to understand what the code says. Because step 5th onwards will run the whole code as one step. What you are doing, okay, tell me, why is it throwing an error in step 6? Can you think of a logical reason why it is throwing an error? Okay. We have just defined the variables. And in this step, we are trying to create a prompt using those variables. But those variables, they don't have a value yet, because we haven't presented those variables to the end user to get an input. Right? So there is a bit of interdependency between from step 5 till step 8 or 9. So we'll run it all in one go at the end. All right. And this is where we are getting the user input. So this is the block where we are presenting those prompts to the user, and we are getting the input from the user. So we ask the user for the topic, learning style, and output style. So topic, and then we are taking the input from the user. Enter the learning topic. Learning style, input. Enter learning style like visual. Excuse me. Then the next output type, input. Enter desired output. You want a summary of that particular topic, or you want quiz, or a detailed explanation, or you just want some examples. Now, when we run this code all together, I'll show you a bit of funny examples. How, again, the prompt that you give to the model or to the application can completely change the response that it provides to you. Then if material, and then we are doing a bit of error handling. So if the material print generated learning material, print material, and then fail to generate learning material if it can't find the relevant material for the topic that you have just asked it for. Now, in this step, if everyone understands what we have discussed in the last 4 code of blocks, Now you can bring it all together. So you can skip the first 3 steps because that we have already done. So feel free to skip the first 3 steps. Now step 4 onwards, copy it all together, put it in the notebook, and then run it. And then experience. And try a few inputs. I would highly encourage that you try it out yourself, then you'll see the difference, right? So in one example, just say I want to learn about Node.js as a visual learner and give me some examples. Or just say I want to learn Google Cloud Platform as a visual learner and give me some examples. Then in the next prompt, try it out. I want to learn Google Cloud Platform IAM, Identity and Access Management, as a visual learner with examples. And can you see the difference when you run it? I just want you to try it out first and then tell me what's the difference that you see. So in the first example, we are just saying it, I want to learn Google Cloud Platform. We are a bit vague. I mean, it's a very, very wide topic, right? In the second one, I'm saying I want to learn Google Cloud Platform IAM, and I'm a visual learner. And give me some examples, and see the difference in the 2 outputs that it gives you. How's everyone going? Yeah, if you don't have a machine, I would suggest you just tee up with someone who has a laptop sitting beside you so that you can see the code in action. Does anyone see a bit of analogy and few examples that are written as a text while it's trying to explain you a particular topic? And this is where few people last week, they were asking why is it not generating the image? It can definitely create the visuals. It can definitely generate the images for you. But in that case, what we'll have to do is take the text from the output of the first response and then key that in as an input to the image generation model, and then ask it to generate an image, and then hook that into the response that it provides back to the user. I think, I'm not sure if I'll have to confirm it with Ria, but whosoever, do we have the swags or the bottles? Okay. So there is a challenge. I mean, at the end of the workshop, at the end of this lab, the top 3 people who can come up with a highly effective business use case where they can see something similar, where this concept or the Gemini model can be hooked in, they'll have some really nice, cool swag as a prize. So you have to pay attention. You have to come up with a good example, a business case that can be solved using this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a completely different use case. You can just improvise on what we are showing here. How's everyone going? So the example that I used, I've done a lot of it, but I just, for this particular workshop, put in as React.js. So I want to learn React.js. My learning style is visual, and I just want a summary. I don't want examples. I just want to, I'm preparing for an interview, right? So I just want a summary of what are the top questions, or what the React.js is all about. Give me the key points. I'll prepare the story myself. I'll create the example myself. Right. Now, in the next step, let's say you are a training platform. You have a platform wherein something similar to Udemy, where there are different authors who put in a course there for the same topic. So for example, for Google Cloud Platform, there are 5 or 6 different trainers on your platform who have created the courses. But then you are thinking how I can create that wow factor, or what is the additional feature that I can give to my end users? What is the extra thing that I can, or what can be the distinctive factor why the people should use my platform as opposed to any other platform? So you think of a use case, and then you want to add a feature where you want to give the users a capability. So there might be like 6 or 7 different authors, but there might be a very popular or a very good trainer who everyone wants to follow, and they just want their courses. Now, obviously, if you are learning something, there'll be like the whole bunch of videos that will be a library, and you, if have to search it out yourself, you'll probably end up watching multiple videos for hours before you can find out which one is the relevant video for the topic that you are trying to study. So you think of that as a problem that you can solve for your end users. So I added another functionality where I give the users an option where they can key in the resource. They can type the resource type that they want my application to search from the library. I want the users to be able to type in either along with the topic, the author name, or a particular YouTube link, or a particular YouTube library, or I want the list of all the courses, irrespective of the authors, but on GCP IAM only, right? So I'm not worried about the authors. I want to just have a look at all the modules that are available from different authors, but on GCP IAM. So I added this block of code in my application. Awesome, thank you. Wherein, so again, don't try it out, this code, just by itself. It will fail again, right? So, because there's a logical connection. So what you'll have to do is copy this let's try it out block from beginning till end. So this is somewhere around here that I've added. So when I take the inputs from all the users, so these 3 are the mandatory inputs that I need from them, what they want to learn about, what type of learner they are, and then the output type, summary, quiz, examples, or just the links to the videos, or whatever they want. As an optional thing, I want to give them a feature using which they can also key in the resources that they want. So I just put in it's probably not very nice name from an end user perspective. Again, you can, this is something that I just thought could think of at the time, so I just put it in there. So resources basically means what is the resource library that you want me to search for this particular course. So the authors list, or the topic list, or the, I don't know, maybe a technology list, right? So just copy this code here with this extra step, which is around the resources, and then try and run it in the notebook. Right? Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just showing you how to do. So in this particular block, I have a while loop. So I want the users to be able to key in as many resources as they want, and the Gemini generative AI model will keep on going in the loops, looking for the resources with a whole bunch of combination of all the resources that I've provided there. Or if you want one is enough, you just give them the option to give only one resource. How's everyone going? And now comes, so, just in the interest of time, we have only 10 minutes left. So I want want to give people enough time so that they can try it out, the whole code. Try a few different options, few different permutations and combinations, and see how the response from the application changes based on the prompt and based on the input that you are giving. So prompt is nothing but just the input that you are giving to the application or to this code, right? And then in the last 5 minutes, so you have about 5 minutes to play with this. In the last 5 minutes, I want to hear out some really creative business use cases from people out here, or how you can improvise on this and use it in a real world situation, developing your own learning platform for sorry?
Summarizing documents or creating executive summaries out of big reports, big presentations.
Yeah, for what kind of users? For who? It's not working. I think I'll come to you. Sorry.
Hello. Yep, it's good now. So it could be like creating big summaries. So for example, someone who is like, it's not a business case, but for example, if I'm a PhD student or if I'm doing a lot of research and market research, and I want to create summaries of different documents, so I can use this to actually get more understanding of what the bigger text document is or what is actually it is saying. So for example, if I want to compare a product to executive managers, so I can use this particular AI to get us executive summary with bullet points, and then I can present to it. Like, this is a very internal or company internal use case, but yeah, that's it from.
Yeah, that is good. However, I'll probably just add to that. So what you are explaining here is a task that you want Gemini or you will use Gen AI to do for you. So that's a task. That's not really a business use case, if I say so. But if I think about that, you're talking about summarization. A lot of industries, a lot of businesses are using that. Where I can think of using that is if I'm a GP, if I'm a doctor, if I'm a physician, right? If a patient comes to me and then they explain their problem to me, right? So I list down the whole things. So rather than me doing that, a voice bot preparing the summary of that conversation to me, and then I, as a GP, only spend about 5 minutes or so to validate that. If whatever has been, this is something similar to what is being done using Gemini in the video meetings when you have the live streaming happening, right? So you'll probably, so I was fortunate enough to be present at Google Next in Vegas personally, but for people who were not there and they were watching the live streaming. So when the speaker was saying something, all you see is a slide deck and you hear what they are saying. But it also summarizes what they said, and then it sends you that as a summary report of or something similar that you run in the Google Meets as well. So it creates a summary. Now Gemini is integrated with Workspace. So if there is a email chain that has maybe 20 odd emails, right? So rather than for you to having to go and look at each and individual email, it just creates a summary. It just presents you with a summary of what has been discussed and the important points. So those are the business use cases.
Thank you. Yeah, just building on that, I think it's really interesting that within the options for learning, there's the kinesthetic one. I had a little bit of a play around with the code there, and I asked the model to explain just a theory using the kinesthetic learning style. And the output was more or less like a board game, if you will. And in a sense, this makes me think that perhaps when designing, whether it's a community consultation or in case of a business, I guess, stakeholder engagement practices, this could be quite useful to either convey complex ideas for people to understand manually, or the other way around, to collect data based on a particular topic and a shared experience like a board game.
Awesome. That's pretty good. So you're gonna, nice.
Thank you.
So you're gonna, what's the book called? That's project to product. So you're gonna now take the idea to the product, right? So sometime soon we'll have you here presenting about the product that you are going to build. Now that's a really good use case. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, so my use case is around designing astronaut training using stuff around you, using swimming pools and navigation stuff, survival tactics, etc. And the visual, auditory, kinesthetic stuff can help build that training plan. So it can, so for example, so wilderness survivals. How do we survive in wilderness? Like, I'm a scout navigator, so you can learn that using that plan. Water survival, obvious, and emergency procedures. So that's like examples, and the rest, like the GeForce training. So you can use the gaming platforms which have these airplanes modeling, etc., to train somebody to do that. So you can do that, train yourself using these.
That's very nice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
One more question here.
Hi. So I had a very practical use case in the times when we are talking about chatbots and agents and all. Imagine like every company would like to cut their costs. So everyone does not want to have a dedicated call center. So imagine like you are a core consulting company and you offer manforce to other companies for call center technologies. Now you want to onboard your executives on any knowledge base of the company. So it's very hard to train people and retain them. Instead, you can have this learning algorithm so that you can feed in any confluence, any knowledge into this, and it would help your agents to understand it. So you can sell more after the bots have done their work. You can solve complex situations like insurance claims and product details. So that can be one use case. If you want to expand it, you can go to the product category managers who have to go through different products to compare prices or coverages for insurance, and also you can use it there as well. You can cut down their work. So that can be very good practical use case.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So this side. There was one use case which I was thinking of about cybersecurity and the way data literacy or the security as a literacy aspect within the organization happens. So a lot of people are not aware about how to take care of different aspects. Like if there is a phishing mail, all these things keep happening. And the cybersecurity team is always on their toes to try to educate all the employees. An idea which came up while using this particular model was that if you could give out some topics to these models, it comes back with a response of how you could build an image or a creative around that. And using the same models, you could create images and circulate it across the entire organization. So what happens is that becomes like an easy and interactive way. You're having an automated system which can keep sharing those emails to your employees, and everyone is educated, and the cybersecurity is easier to keep track of, and because everyone is aware of how things are happening now. So that is the use case I am thinking of with using the generative AI.
That's pretty nice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So now just
the last one.
okay. Yeah.
Thank you. So we all know golf lessons cost a fortune. There are devices out there which can track the exact seconds, the positioning of the ball, where it travels to. So I was thinking if there was a facility, instead of hiring a golf tutor, we have a 3D array, and the first element is each time you hit the ball. The second level is each second the ball is in the air. Third level being coordinates like X, Y, Z. And we can pass that data into the prompt and say, given all these examples and telling Gemini that what each of the levels mean, X meaning X-axis and so on, can you give me some feedback on how I can improve, what my issues are, what do I like, what are the statistics that I tend to do?
That's really nice. Awesome. And as a next step, hook that into a VR kind of device and let them play in virtual reality. Very nice. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your participation. Now, just in the interest of time, we'll wrap it up here. Now, before we do that, definitely there were some really good examples there. So, sorry, what's your name? Golf. How can I forget that? Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. So I hope you guys will be using Gemini pretty much soon in your application. It was pretty nice. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. That was really nice, out of the box thinking. Nice. All right, everyone, we'll wrap it up here, at least my part. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully I made up to the promise that I made at the beginning of the session. You learned something and you use how we can make the use of Gemini in your applications and using some prompt engineering, how you can make the effective use of the responses from Gen AI models. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anupam. That was amazing. How good was that? So interactive. It was full of energy, and it was just amazing seeing you all. So now we're at the end of our event today. Just wanted to let you guys know there's another Build with AI event happening next week. So that's 21st of May, right here in Sydney, Google Sydney office, with Lavi and Lai on agentic AI and Build Tech News. So if you guys are into it, please come on in next, I think that's a Thursday. But massive thank you to Anupam. We've got a swag for you as well.
Gave quite a lot of business use cases, so I think I deserve one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Anupam. And I would like to extend my thanks to Matt and our cool AV guys down there. Woo! Our incredible organizers, volunteers, and all of you for showing up and building the future with us. May your prompts always be precise and your APIs always responsive. I got Gemini to do that. Please don't forget to share your photos with us, tag us in LinkedIn, and we'll see you guys on our next meetup. Lovely to have you here tonight. Thank you so much, guys.